When you find yourself in the middle of an emergency, what are some things that you need to think about? And more importantly, some things that you need to do when you own a piece of real estate in the Reno area. I'm Steve Rosenberg with Mynd Property Management. Today, I'm joined with Trevor Stedman, who's our portfolio manager for Mynd in the Reno area. So Trevor, what are some things you're in the middle of an emergency, and I'm sure you've been through many of them with your years of experience. What are some things you need to be thinking about and doing in this situation?
That's a great question. And unfortunately for me, I've had to help some clients through some pretty troubling times in their portfolio timeline. But being prepared in the moment of an emergency is very important for you to break down what the specifics are happening, what the health and safety liabilities are, and then taking a look at the bigger picture to see how your investment is going to be in 60 to 90 days. Has it be a flood? Did your condo catch on fire? Was the home red tagged by the state? Are you having occupancy issues with where the property is zoned for? Like, these are all, local emergencies that investors find themselves in the middle all the time. Sometimes they can prepare for it, sometimes they can't. But really, at the end of the day, identifying the source of the problem, if it's a health and safety issue, getting a game plan together to resolve it, making sure that your resident or your tenant who you've promised to provide a comfortable living situation for them is taken care of, having some sympathy and empathy towards the situation, but also making sure that you have a level-headed, non-emotionally reactive perspective to it is extremely important. We have owners that will have like a freak out moment about a situation, and you really have to dive into the details, and then you have to pull it back and take a look at the bigger picture. You will get lost if you spend too much time on the specifics, if you don't pull yourself away from the situation and solve it at a higher level.
Yeah, and that is such a great point, Trevor, that you said. And I think it's so important that people realize that in any emergency or situation, if you do not sit back and relax and assess what's going on before you start doing something, that is normally when things can actually get worse. So sitting back could be 3 seconds. It depends on the situation, but you should be reacting out of fact and knowledge and data and not on fear and emotion. And so I think it's important that people really think about that when you are in the middle of an emergency, you've got to remember a couple of things. Number one, you are running a business, and it's time for you to be a leader in that business. And it's time for you to assess the situation. And just as you said, Trevor, you've got to work towards the solution, not focus on the problem. Exactly. And you've got to remember also that you have a resident living in that property with their lives in there, and it's a very emotional time for them. And you've got to first of all, you got to make sure that they're safe and secure. And you got to make sure that they are not in any harm's way. And then obviously you've got to make sure that your investment is safe and secure. And then you can worry about other things. But it's so important to make sure that calm, cool, and collected is so important. And this may be the time prior to an emergency that you may want to have a discussion with the resident and let them know where shutoff valves are, where circuit breakers are, where the local health association, poison control, CDC center. These are things you want to have before, and maybe even have a little checklist for them when they move in, or give it to them now where you can give them this information. I would also recommend that maybe you have their emergency information updated so that you know that if you can't get a hold of them, you can get a hold of someone else. And these are the things that preventing this from happening. And then when it does happen, you're not in kind of freak out mode and reactionary, and you can be in more proactive mode to solve the problem and get to the solution. Do you agree with that, Trevor?
Yeah, 100%. And you said it right yourself. The residents are most likely going to react emotionally to the situation. They were there. It's their family. It's their space. It's their home. You need to be that foundation and that rock to get them through the crisis too. And so if you're not fully put together on your end of things, it could come off as a much worse situation to the resident, knowing that you are also having problems. So if you have your stuff together, then you should really be able to pull out successfully, regardless of what situation you're in.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And again, remember, this is not something that anybody plans to happen. That's why it's called an emergency or disaster or catastrophe. You just have to understand that these things do happen. And obviously nobody wants it to happen to their property or to their residence, but it does. And it's how you react once it happens. And a little pre-planning will really go a long way. So on behalf of Trevor, Mynd Property Management, and myself, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you'd like to keep the conversation going, join our Facebook group.